Welcome to Lesson 4 by Chess Achieves. In this lesson we'll be learning about the difference between check and checkmate and how to ensure you're closing a game properly. In the example shown here, the black king is under attack by the white rook. This means the black king is in check. Now there are three ways, and only three ways, to get out of check. Those three ways are capture the piece that's attacking you, interpose, which is a fancy word for block. You want to put somebody in between you and the piece attacking you, or to simply move out of the way. In this example, the black army has a way to capture the piece that's attacking him. Do you see what piece can capture the white rook? Hopefully you've identified the black bishop can slice across the board and remove the rook, thereby removing check on the black king so that the game can continue. In this example, the black king is still in check by the white rook, but we no longer have the ability to capture the piece that's attacking us. But do we have the ability to interpose, to put somebody in between the rook and the king? And the answer is yes. The black knight can interpose check. Now the black knight in this example has two choices. He could either move to the e3 square and stand right in front of the rook. This would remove check by interposing. Or the knight could move to the e7 square and interpose check. Of those two choices, moving the knight to the e7 square would make the most sense, because if the rook were to capture the knight, then the king could take back. Whereas in the other choice, if the knight were to interpose on the e3 square, the rook could simply capture it, and the black king would be in check again. Interpose means to put one of your pieces on the empty squares between the attacker and your king. Our final option when we're in check is to simply move out of the way, move to a square that's not under attack by the opposing army. Again, in this example, the white rook is attacking the black king, and the black king has four choices of squares to move to. Here we show another example of the black king being under attack by the white rook. In this example, it's at least check, and we're going to go through all three of our options to see if we can get out of check. If not, the result will be checkmate. So the first of our three choices we review is, can we capture the white rook? Unfortunately not. There's no black pieces to capture the white rook. Can we interpose on one of the empty squares between the rook and the king? Again, there are no pieces to interpose in order to get out of check. So we're left with our third and final option, which is to move the king to a square that's not under attack. Again, we're not able to move to any of the squares surrounding our black king, as these would all be illegal moves. The kings can never be side by side. So we can't capture, we cannot interpose, and we cannot move. Our king is under attack, so this is an example of checkmate, and the game would be over. And this is also an example of how a king and a rook will end a game. They'll push an opposing king to one edge of the board. It doesn't matter which edge, but the edge of the board, and then can create checkmate. Notice that it takes two pieces in order to create checkmate. Let's look at a common opening a lot of new players will use in chess, called scholar's mate. This is an important opening to understand, both as black and as white. The first move for scholar's mate is usually shown by e4. The black army will often respond with e5, very solid way to open a game. Next, the white army will bring its bishop out to c4, attacking the f7 pawn of the black army. The f7 pawn is the weakest pawn for the black army because only the king protects this pawn. On the white army side of the board, the f2 pawn is the weakest pawn for the white army, as only the king protects that same pawn. So both armies can try this opening line against each other. The game continues on. Black normally will defend its center pawn by developing its knight to c6, perfectly good move. The white army responds by bringing its queen out to h5. Anytime your opponent brings their queen out early, you have to think danger. The queen is a very powerful piece. You have to be concerned about attacks from your opposing queen. In this case, the white army now has the bishop and the queen both attacking the f7 pawn. It's important to defend this pawn properly. Often the black army will make a mistake and attack the queen prematurely, with the knight coming out to f6. In this particular example, it leads to checkmate. The queen takes the pawn at f7. So let's go through our three things for check. Can we capture the piece that's attacking us? You first might say the king could simply take the queen. But the queen is a protected piece by the bishop, so the king is not allowed to capture protected pieces, as it's no different than placing himself into check. The next choice we consider is interpose. There are no empty squares to interpose between our attacking queen and the black king, so the black army cannot interpose. The third and final choice we should always consider when we're in check is to simply move out of the way. Are there any squares we can move our king to that are not under attack? And again, the answer is no. So, here on the fourth move of the game, this is checkmate. It's a combination, an opening known as scholar's mate, and it should be, care should be taken to avoid this particular type of mate. If we take back two moves, what the black army should have done on its turn is simply move the queen to the e7 square. Now there's two defenders, being the queen and the king, on the f7 pawn, and so now the capture does not work for the white army, and the white army will have to start to retreat shortly when the knight comes out on the next turn to f6. Scholar's mate's very powerful. Please make sure you understand this opening. Repeat this segment if it was. So as a recap to today's lesson, check simply means one king is under attack by the opposing army. Checkmate means you cannot capture, interpose, or move to get out of check. And checkmate means the game is over. And that's actually how you win a chess game. You do not physically take your opponent's king. Checkmate happens the turn before you would take their king. Every time you're in check, you should consider all three of your options: capture, interpose, and move before you decide what to do. Too often, new players to chess will immediately grab their king when placed in check and try to move it to a square that's not under attack. They may miss opportunities to take their opponent's attacking piece for free, or possibly an interpose, which would have been a better move. Consider all three choices every time you're in check. Capture, interpose, move. C-I-M. Good luck, players.